I'd like to bring the mayor and town council special meeting on May 12th, 2025 to order. We are at the Worcester County Government Center Boardroom, room 1102, and it is 5:31. At this time, we have some presentations, interviews from some engineering firms. And I'd like to start with the staff report from Mr. Pollock. Can you explain what is going on this evening?
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of put into context just what we're doing, why we're here tonight. It all started with us, with our Colburn Well Generator project. We were approved for a grant to install a generator at our Colburn Lane well. And in the process of getting the paperwork together, found this clause in the grant agreement that required us to put our engineering out for competitive bidding. That has not been the case in most instances in the past. But in exploring it a little further, we found that there are a growing number of, especially state-sponsored grant and loan programs where competitive bidding for the engineering is required. So we've also been told that if we did a comprehensive search for engineering, resulting in an agreement where we could select a single firm that would be good for a 3-year period, that we wouldn't have to bid out each individual project as they came along. And so with that understanding with the state, we went to work with our colleagues at the Department of Environment to develop an RFQ, a request for qualifications, that would address the issues that the state would be looking for in any kind of engineering relationship. And put that together. The RFQ was published earlier this year. We sent direct invitations to companies that we were familiar with locally, but then we also posted it on work or job postings or sites available online. So I also advertised it in the local paper. After the RFQ process, we received 2 proposals, both from Salisbury firms with excellent reputations. One is with us right now from George Miles and Buer in Salisbury. I've had extensive experience with George Miles and Buer, and the majority of my time in Fruitland, and I can tell you that they are top-notch, high-quality, good folks to deal with. The other respondents, of course, were Davis, Bowen, and Pradell, who have been providing engineering services to Snow Hill, off and on, but mostly on, for more than 30 years. In fact, I think the original agreement we found this morning was dated 1988, and so it's been a while. And of course, we give them very high marks as well for the relationship we've built over the years and have a great deal of confidence in them as well. In fact, I say all that to say that we put together a review team to go through the RFQs to make sure, A, that they were responsive to what we'd asked for, and second, to get a feel for how they best fit Snow Hill and the things that we would be asking of them. And the fact is that our team, which consisted, I'll mention this, with the Director of Public Works, the Superintendent of Utilities, Finance Manager, the Grants Administrator, and Director of Economic Development, as well as myself. We felt that both firms were so well qualified and so comparable in their abilities and capabilities to help us that we really weren't comfortable picking one over the other. We thought with a decision this important, especially for a period of time, it would be good to have them come and sit before the mayor and council and kind of present their qualifications where they think they could serve us the best. And then we could make up our decision after we've had that additional step. Just to clarify for everyone that the town charter and the official purchasing policy do authorize the town manager to make these decisions regarding hiring and contract with the firms for professional services. But Mayor Simpson agreed that with a matter of this importance to the future planning of Snow Hill's infrastructure needs, the opinions and input of the town council should be invited. So accordingly, this public presentation by the 2 competing companies has been scheduled for them to describe their respective proposals and answer any questions that may arise. They have been asked to confine their presentations to approximately 30 to 35 minutes, with the balance of their hour devoted to questions and answers. Before we adjourn tonight, it's hoped that the council will share their reflections and offer any comments or suggestions. It's my intention to make a decision on this matter this week in order to move forward with the many projects already underway.
All right, thank you. Would you like to introduce yourselves and then start with your presentation?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Start out, Chris Derbyshire with George Beach here. I want to send a thank you to the town for having us present tonight for this opportunity.
You want to just check, push on that one button there? There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And I'd like to thank Mr. Pilot for the kind remarks regarding GMB's performance over the years that you've seen. Procedural matter, am I slides ahead as I go, or do I do that here?
It's a PDF, so you just want to use the mouse and scroll.
Rolling.
You're scrolling. Oh, yeah.
Let's try it. Maybe that's not. Oh, there it is.
There, yeah.
Technology.
So just what we broke the presentation down into 4 areas. First is our introduction, then we're going to discussing GMB's relevant experience to consider. We're going to expand on some of the needs that we've seen in Snow Hills RFQ, and then also turn over to questions discussion period. So I did want to make note with the photo that you see on that slide. There are 14 individuals there, and that represents GMB ownership as of a couple of years ago. This photo is a little dated. I did want to make note that we implemented an ownership transition plan, which I'm very proud of, and the firm is as well. And it ensures the longevity of GMB. That way we've got owners that are coming and going. I may mention that, there's been some changes since this photo. We've had 2 individuals who have retired, and since then we've had 2 new folks who joined the firm. One is Mr. Pfeiffer here. So we're pleased to have him with us. And I really think that it sets up a nice company where folks can see the opportunity for growth in a firm to be even an owner at some point. So that really encourages folks to work very hard and diligently. So I'll start out. Already gave my name, Chris Derbyshire. I'll say it again. And I'll just make mention that at this point, I've been designated as the lead, or what we like to call the client manager, if we're successful in this venture with the town. That said, relationships and personalities are everything, so nothing is set in stone. If we find at any point in time the town likes to work with another individual in the firm, there's transitions that can be made. Catherine is an exceptional individual to work with, so we're flexible, so it's not just what we're set somewhere to a particular individual. As I mentioned, I am an owner in the firm. Just a little bio on myself. I'm a local, from the Salisbury, Wycombe County area. I've resided there my entire life. Married, I have 2 children, an 18-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. I'm your typical Eastern Shore outdoorsman, love the outdoors. I actually started with George Miles and Buren in 1995 when I graduated high school. So I've interned with them for a number of years, working part-time through the school year and full-time over the summer and winter breaks. I joined the firm full-time in 2002 as a project engineer. I did go to the University of Maryland. That's where I have my degrees in bachelor's and master's of environmental engineering. And I, have been in the water wastewater group with the firm, my entire tenure. Working from an entry-level engineer to a professional engineer to a project manager, and ultimately to where now I'm a group leader within the firm. But I did want to, point out that, one thing that was nice in working with the firm all those years is I was able to be exposed to a variety of projects, from doing, survey work to any type of water work to surveying to just the whole gamut of things. So I understand how projects work, how projects are put together. With that said, I'd like Catherine the opportunity.
I'm Catherine McAllister. I have also want to thank you guys for having us here tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity. So I'm a professional engineer. I've also worked at GMB for 20 years, and I'm currently a part owner. I grew up in Salisbury, Maryland. I went to Lehigh University for my environmental engineering degree. And then I joined GMB in 2005. I did, while working at GMB, get my MBA at Salisbury University. Just wanted to have a better understanding of the finance and management levels of, that we do a lot of that, at work. So on a personal level, I live in Bishopville, Maryland now, with my husband and my 13-year-old son. So we do a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of golfing. My husband came home this week and said it's official. I can't beat our son anymore.
Oh.
So it's fun. We really enjoy it. We've had a good time with that. And a lot of my family's local and my husband's family's local, so we spend, a lot of time with family. On a personal level, I also love being involved in local community and organizations. I've been on the Fruitland Chamber for, 15 years probably, and, past president. I've done, Sunrise Rotary in Salisbury, past president of that, and also a past, board member of Life Crisis. So all really good organizations, and I really enjoy doing that stuff. But I have been in the water wastewater group also, since I started, 20 years ago, and I worked with Chris directly, and also had the opportunity to just have a very wide variety of project work, from the water wastewater side, to the civil municipal, and have been fortunate to be able to manage a number of municipal clients.
All right,
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah. Chris.
My name is Chris Pfeiffer. So I attended Drexel University and I started with George Mausinger when I graduated from Drexel in 2013. So I've been there for almost 12 years. I started in our site sustainable department. So that's kind of our department that does site design and stormwater management design, those kind of things. I've been in that department my entire time at GMB. I became a partner in January of last year. And then I was also became the group leader for our site sustainable department in 2022. And from a personal standpoint, I live in Berlin, Maryland, with my wife and my son, who's almost 2 years old.
Oh,
So we, a lot of time.
had an
spent-
adventure, right?
Yeah, definitely an adventure over the past 2 years,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, spending time with them, watching him grow has been very exciting.
Glad you're here.
So I'll dive in a little bit more on G&D. We were founded in 1960. We're Delmarva-based firm, what we refer to as an AE firm, architectural engineering firm. We have approximately 100 staff. There's a diverse group of staff, engineers, architects, planners, so on and so forth. Of the 29 licensed professionals, we have 25 of which are licensed professional engineers. So we're definitely heavy on the E side versus the architectural side. With us being local, we're approximately 25 minutes from the town. So that's really key in being able to support town with all services. With regard to municipal engineering, that's what we do. For the last, as long as I can remember, greater than 50% of our, the work that we accomplish as a firm is civil type work. Encompasses, just general civil municipal and also water wastewater pumped into that. I will make mention that we do have a licensed wastewater treatment plant operator on staff. That individual was with the municipality and served as the superintendent at our facility for 10 years. So that's a key individual to have to help with different things as far as startup services and troubleshooting systems and so on and so forth. With regard to the photos you see there, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You see it's a wide spectrum. We're going to cover, some of this more in detail when we do the presentation. I just will mention that, with our services, we provide work with projects from planning through design, through bidding, through construction. So it's the entire project. We expanded some of this on our proposal that we submitted that, we're a full service firm. However, there are some services that we need to bring especially folks in, like geotechnical engineers, mechanical, electrical engineering, so some of the environmental type things, or wetland delineation, and so on and so forth. So they can be brought in on an as-needed basis, but otherwise, we handle, all the civil municipal services in-house. So our base office is in Salisbury, Maryland. It's also our largest office, and that's the office that we propose to service the town of Snow Hill from. All three of us are based out of the Salisbury office.
Okay.
We have several offices in Delaware that you can see, shown there. We have, our Sparks office, which is, it's a sizable office as well. It's probably their second largest office. And those folks there specialize in basically strictly water, wastewater, and still municipal. So one thing that's nice about that is, we've got those folks with that expertise, across the bridge, as we say, and, it really provides us with a deep bench. For some reason, our local offices become overwhelmed with projects. We've got those folks that we can bring in. And also with them, working with a lot of times larger clients, they can bring, a viewpoint. It's a little different sometimes, I think. So it's good, sometimes not as good, but we know small town clients. So to speak to some of the relevant experience, what I want to point out there is on this slide is that you can see the number of years that we've been working with a lot of these different municipalities, and it really speaks to the fact that, it's a long-term relationship, a trusted advisor with these firms. Many of which Catherine and myself have worked with, in great detail over the years. I'll mention that, for the city of Seaford, for instance, I'm actually designated as a city engineer. Some towns go to that and first designate an actual individual. So that's the case there. Our role is one of the clients that's probably got the fewest years there, and I'm proud to have been on the team that actually, secured that client and worked with them since then. That was actually my first wastewater treatment plant project working with them. But this showing here is focused more on our Salisbury office and our Eastern Shore based clients. So I want to speak to the fact that we understand small town clients and the needs of small town clients.
So I'm going to expand a little bit on Chris's comments. So as I mentioned, I've been very fortunate. I'm thankful that I've been able to work so one-on-one with a lot of local municipalities. The city of Fruitland we've been working for them for 56 years. And we are similar to Seaford designated as their on-call engineer. They've gone through the competitive process and has selected us. We complete routine services for them. It could be from, plan reviews, all the wastewater infrastructure, any type of civil work. They have us get involved in all their planning studies. We recently actually just secured all grant or loan forgiveness funding, to address PFAS that has come up in their water. So it was, we do that. We did it for the for the wastewater projects also, work with them, to get the funding. I also wanted to point out Worcester County, again, 65 years, number of years we've worked with Worcester County. We still daily work with them. I've known most of the folks that are now in Public Works for most of my career. We've been back and forth different, in different areas. So all three of us have a very strong relationship in Worcester County, and enjoy working with them. And I think, with you guys Snow Hill being in Worcester County, that's nice to have, that trusted relationship already. And then the other one I just want to point out is Wycomico County. Again, just the teamwork needed, I think, has been a big part of what GMB can bring to the table. So Wycomico County, we do a lot of work directly for them, like stormwater management reviews regularly. But we've also done some pretty high profile projects with them, such as at the Salisbury Airport. We've done a lot of work there recently, extending water mains, doing fire suppression system for hangars. And a good thing with that is we've had to coordinate between the municipality, city of Salisbury, and the county, because the county doesn't have water sewer. So it's really been a collaborative effort. GMB can provide that for our clients, and we work well in the sandbox, I guess. But I think just with, as Chris said, with so many of us on the team, we've got so many owners, we really do have a deep bench, as he said. Worcester County is a good example of where we do all disciplines for them. Really, our architects work with them directly, our structural engineers work with them all the time on marina stuff. It's not just water, wastewater. So it's a lot of civil, the whole gamut GMB can offer. I did want to touch upon just our knowledge of funding programs. So we all know, especially with the small local communities, without the funding, it just doesn't, it's just up next to impossible to do a lot of these projects, and the infrastructure projects are becoming even more expensive. So we know that's basically step one. We need to get funding, we need to secure the funding, and then, that just leads you to a successful project, from there. So we work with all of these agencies here in addition to others. I want to point out that we've got, not only do we know how to work, we can work with them, develop the best funding package. Like sometimes you'll have multiple sources of funding and that gives you your best options. You can get USDA in there for a portion, MDE in there. And we've done that. We've worked with different agencies, handled their management, reimbursements. We're very familiar with all that. Most of the projects I work on are all related to, federal or state funding projects. Recently did EPA applications for congressional money that was granted to Worcester County. We help them just even with the application process. That gets pretty in depth. And then the other thing I really did, I'm gonna talk about, a couple of projects Chris and I are gonna hit just to, talk more about our funding experience. But I also wanted to let you know, we do have very strong relationships with a lot of the, funding agency representatives. So MDE, we work with their engineers regularly. First name basis, they call us, we call them. Same with USDA, and CDBG, we actually just finished a big project in Rock Hall. And we know those folks also really well. So if you need any references, if you want some funding agency references instead of just client references, we can definitely provide that to you. Because we have been working with them for years. And we also wanted just to stress, community partners. So I know a lot of the local municipalities, you guys will work with SERCAT or you work with Maryland Board of Water. We're strong believers in the bigger the team, the more people that can support the project, the better the project. We will, if you just need us for a small portion to help with some technical, verbiage for applications, and then SERCAP wants to handle the bulk of it because they definitely are an economical option for a lot of towns. We do that all the time. We love working with them, have no problem, sharing knowledge and sharing information, especially if it's relevant to the client that we're working with. So just open communication, and the larger the team, the stronger we feel it is. So I do want to also, and then we have also with Maryland Board of Water work on the operations side, as Chris said, we know those folks also. If there any way to make things more efficient or help with the reporting, if they need us to weigh in at all, based on our knowledge of facilities, we can do that as needed. So this is just one project I wanted to highlight, Morrisville Water System. This was a Wycomico County project, but it also teamed with the City of Fruitland. So I'm really proud of this project. The county found there was a widespread number of wells that had TCE, trichloroethylene, which is a carcinogen, and it came up in some of the residential wells. And then the neighborhood started testing, and it ended up a very widespread of about 270 residents had this TCE in their private wells. So, GMB was hired by Wycomico County, and it was a fast-track project. Within 9 months, we had to do a PFA exception, which allowed the funding to be awarded to this job. If it's not within a priority funding area, a lot of times the state can't award certain funding or federal can't award certain funding. So we went through the process of a PFA exception, water and sewer amendments, and then within that same 12-month period, we designed the whole water system, water tank, and had a bid. So it was very fast-tracked. The partners were everybody really just came together, USDA and MDE. They were able to fund us through 2 different fiscal years to double the amount of grant. It's just everybody really worked together, fast-tracked the permit reviews. So in the end, within about 2.5 to 3 years, we were connecting people from the day it was discovered, which was very fast. A lot of these projects take a very long time. So it was a great project, learned a lot, and we're just really proud, to have been partners with. And then again, that was where we had to collaborate, City of Fruitland and Wycomico County. So 2 different government entities, had to work together to make that happen. So I'm just happy to be trusted advisor to a lot of these folks. Let Chris.
Yeah. So
Give another example.
I'll go from a fast track project to a project I've been working on for over a decade. So the Smith Island project, we would highlight that for you, just to be aware of it. It's, I trust you all are familiar with Smith Island. So basically, the system that was installed out there with regard to pump stations and sewage treatment plant. And it had been there since the 1970s, so it's a failing system. You know, obviously, you can imagine building anything on an island is very cost prohibitive. Very, very complex project. We started on this project in 2012, the people in the engineering report. Super storm Sandy hit after that, kind of slowed things down a little bit with funding to get funds more, off the island, so on and so forth. But anyway, the project proceeded. Actually broke the project down into 4 construction contracts. As a sense, we broke out the 3 pumping stations, you know, individually. For the new treatment facility, a new timber deck had to be constructed for the new plant before, you know, that plant could be built. So that was a specialty contractor that went and did that. Then we had so then there's the treatment plant project, which is a separate contract. And then there's the force main project called the subaqueous force main, which connects the village of Paladin to the other 2 facilities that are served on Yule itself. You know, a very large project, very complex project, working with multiple funding agencies. You can see the USDA, MDE, as well as, you know, the congressionally directed funding was on the project. It's a very expensive project. You know, it's approximately $23 million. I think all said and done, we're approximately 85% of that is funded either through grant funds of some kind or principal forgiveness. Obviously, there's, you know, very few customers on the island to share that cost. I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is when we bid the treatment plant contract, it was not too long after the whole Ukraine invasion happened. As you recall, the economy was just, you know, crazy then, costs were soaring and everything. So we had a project that was estimated at $10 million and it came in at $12.7 million. So we were able to secure that additional funding in the period of time, you know, for the bid to be valid, you know, to work with these agencies. That was really, you know, an undertaking, but we were able to accomplish that with the agencies and, you know, to get the project forward. It was very key. On into the water wastewater service, which is an area that I'm very familiar with. You know, everybody always likes to highlight all the big and complex projects and all we've worked on, but I mean, we're not a big consultant where we always got to do things a certain way. We understand the need to sometimes simplify solutions design to the town or the funding that's available. So that's something that, you know, we really pride ourselves in. I'm not going to really, you know, get into all the nitty gritty detail, but I can assure the town that anything that you come across that you need assistance with regarding, you know, water, wastewater, engineering, we've dealt with before. We've, you know, we're very proud of our wastewater experience. I mean, we hang with what I call the big dogs on the engineering firms. We compete with those guys routinely. I mean, we had the first DNR plant in the state of Maryland. G&B had the first ENR plant in the state of Maryland. G&B had the first membrane bioreactor in Maryland and Delaware. So, I mean, we really are on the cutting edge of wastewater treatment for certain. And myself personally, you know, I've been involved in, you know, a multitude of ENR projects, you know, from planning to design to construction-based services. Regarding municipal and civil engineering, that's, you know, that's our bread and butter. That's what we like to do. I mean, God and myself, we do so much of that, you know, day in and day out. You know, site plan reviews, you know, for towns, you know, with that, as well as, you know, the whole multitude of projects that you see shown here. I know we've done a lot of work with the city of Lewis over the years, different phases of street projects and repaving. You know, some of those projects aren't the most glorious projects, but we do them. That's what we do. We work for the town. We want to provide the services that meet your needs, as well as municipal standards and specifications, things like that. So once again, similar to the water, wastewater, you know, civil municipal, I assure you there's nothing that, you know, the town is going to have to apply. Following up with that on construction fund services, this is an area that I really enjoy working in, and that's something I really think that's great with regard to a small firm, because with the size of our firm, we're able to use a lot of times the same individuals that go from planning to design to bidding to construction services. It's really nice for the young engineers to see the full project all the way through, you know, to learn how to use in that regard. You know, if we're familiar with the arrangement that MDE has with different projects, because sometimes you have design services during construction and construction management inspections, you know, as well as the conventional, you know, construction administration, you know, with the RPR. You know, we have 15 inspectors that are available. We refer to them as resident project representatives. However, they're not always, you know, projects that need a full-time inspector. So we have the opportunity for part-time inspection when that need arises. And then we also, you know, work with municipalities and are able to tell our level of service, you know, for the construction administration, where, you know, the public works is able to handle the bulk of the project, but just needs a little bit of support from GMB, you know, as far as the submittals or, handling the progress meetings, but they'll handle the day-to-day things in the field, you know, we've done that as well. So we really can tell the services to what the town needs are.
Not only to touch on some of our stormwater, and sustainable engineering services that we provide, so. One thing that we realize is stormwater is not one size fits all. It's, you know, it's dependent on a lot of factors, location, the water table, slopes that you might encounter or might not encounter in some scenarios. So we cater our design to whatever the specific needs of the community is. We've worked in various jurisdictions throughout Delmarva. Very familiar with working in Worcester County, obviously, as Catherine and Chris both said. We've done designs for various facilities, bioretention, swales, submerged gravel wetland, constructed wetlands, different things to provide treatment. We're also very experienced with doing stormwater retrofits, so adding best management practices, those kind of things, where they don't currently exist. So the top left picture of this slide is actually an example of a bioretention that we did in Betterton to treat 3 acres of impervious that was previously untreated. And so that was just kind of building that into the existing infrastructure that was there. We also have performed drainage studies for many of the coastal communities, for Lewis, for Oxford. We've done drainage studies, determine where flooding issues occur, how they can be remedied. And then one of the other things that kind of overlaps with some of our civil municipal is we provide asset management related to not only sewer, water, but also the stormwater side of things too. We've worked with like with the town of Lewis. I know we did a asset management that allowed the community to indicate where there was a flooding issue occurring, like after a rainfall, so that the town had that information to inform themselves when they needed to develop new projects, where those projects would best be served. And then touching on our, we also offer structural marine engineering services. So 2 of our partners are structural engineering, professional engineers. And they're both leaders and respected in their field with decades of experience. They do design of a variety of different types of structures, concrete, steel, wood frame facilities. And they've done over 60 post-tension concrete designs in Southern Delaware and Ocean City. They also do services related to inspection, repair, restoration, additions. One thing I want to hit is after Superstorm Sandy, they did inspection for 12 bridges in the city of Salt Lake. There were no structural issues. So that's definitely something that we would be able to, our firm would be able to provide. We also provide design services for marine facilities, so the boat ramps, bulkheads throughout the Delmarva region. And then they're also in the process of completing some long-term reserve studies for the city of Lewis and town of Millville for a bunch of their different facilities to kind of determine a game plan for when things need to be done.
I'm gonna expand some on what we think our town's needs based on what we've read in the RFQ. We identified essentially, we've got four items sharing, however, I think it's really three. So understood that the wastewater treatment plant capacity issue is something that the town is looking to explore. I'm running, expanding the plant's capacity. I don't know a lot about the specifics. However, we have the experience with regard to, making the best use of existing infrastructure, basically to squeeze every last ounce of capacity that you have out of it. As far as the outfall, obviously, that's going to be the most economical option for the town to maximize that capacity. I looked at the permit. I know there's load-based conditions in there. There may be opportunity to treat to higher levels of removal, not only with the nitrogen and phosphorus, but some of the other pollutants, and to further maximize capacity. And then there's always nutrient trading. That's something that GB has participated with a number of different municipalities to whereby load is taken from one facility and provided to another. We've done a lot of different ways. That's something we could certainly explore. And if the requirement is for the treatment is one aspect, and it's disposal. Usually, the disposal is the more critical aspect of expansion. And if it comes down to either effluent disposal via spray irrigation or rapid infiltration basins, that's something that GP has expertise in. We've worked with municipalities in the past on several different projects.
So I'm going to touch upon these other two. I know, I9 is an issue for a lot of municipalities, especially as our infrastructure ages. And when you have these events, this that infiltrates into your system and ends up hitting your wastewater plant and overloading it, which becomes an operational concern. So I do know you guys have been tackling that, project by project, which is awesome. That's how every municipality has been handling it. It's really your best way. But we have worked with multiple towns and done full inventories of your system. We've got GIS specialists in-house. So they completely GIS your system, which also gives you, something to refer to in the future. Do you know what I mean? When they're in the field, they can refer to their GIS mapping. But we've GIS fully inventoried systems, and then we've done TVing of sewer mains to try and find the worst spots and really just trying to help out our municipalities with where they should focus. A lot of times they're already aware, the Public Works Department's already aware, but if you need to narrow down, we monitor pump station flows, and try to really find sources of I&I. So we've done a lot of that type of work with towns. And then I also just wanted to touch upon that lead service line inventory and replacement. I know over this past year, everybody had to submit by October. It sort of was pushed on all these municipalities and it's a big undertaking. So we did work with multiple towns, again, we focused on the GIS group. They were able to eliminate ones that probably are not lead, get it down to the least number that's reasonable. And they even created GIS platforms where if Public Works is going out there for any reason, they can record and basically do inspections as they're making different upgrades and stuff along the system. But we are continuing to work with folks, finding funding, possibly not really knowing yet where this is going, when it's going to do. But something we have really gotten involved with recently is done several projects on water main lining. We've found, so everybody's very familiar with the sewer main lining. The water main lining is something that's becoming more and more popular. I know we're doing several jobs in Pocomoke right now. I also recently just completed one in Oxford. And it was lead services. And the other thing that really triggered that project, it was on their main street with sidewalks, brick sidewalks, trees, concrete base, and the idea of open cutting and finding any spot in that road to totally put a new main, it just wasn't feasible. So we lined it. It was a great project, 3 months of construction. They put new services in, minimal impact there, but the lining was really successful. And I know you've had some experience in Pocomoke recently, same thing, state highway roads, just things that lend itself to full excavation is just not feasible. And it's economical also in some cases.
Thank you. Let's go.
Yeah,
And then we're just gonna end with, why GMB. So, like I said, GMB's been around for 65 years working in the region. This is the work that we have kind of like bread and butter, as Chris has said before. We're a firm of just over 100 staff members, and I like to think of that as we're small enough to provide, personalized, services that you would need. But then we're also large enough to get the work done when the time comes that the work needs to get done. So we have a deep bench, to make sure that not only are we personalizing our services, but we're getting the work done. It's a collaborative effort. Chris kind of alluded to being in the water wastewater group, in the site sustainable group, but we work together on projects, on a weekly basis. And that's true of all of our departments and GMBs. So it's a collaborative effort. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
yeah.
Alec, do you want to talk about questions or?
We solicited, potential questions from the team, including council, and we came up with 4 that pretty well covered the sense of what we were trying to, establish today. So I gave a copy of the 4 to the mayor, thinking that if you like, you could each take one question and
Okay.
just present it. We had the same questions available for the next presentation, for the next presenters, and just see where we go with that.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and start. Why do you think that your firm is the best fit for Snow Hill?
Client service. All of us take, client service seriously. I mean, and I think I know we all take it personally. It's something that I really pride myself in. And, the municipalities that we work with, you're our number one client. Every one of them is our number one client. So we're not only work together to figure out what the scope of work is, we're going to define the deliverables, and we're going to define a time frame. Those deliverables are going to be provided in that time frame. If you want to expand on.
I would just, something Chris said earlier, again, is the deep bench. I mean, there are things that, I might be Fruitland's main contact, but, Chris's knowledge in wastewater is huge. So, he took the lead. He takes the lead on that job. I'll take the lead on the water job. We do the same thing with Rock Hall a lot. There's just a lot of us to get the work done, and we just have a broad capability of, we all trust each other. So while you might have one person that's your main client manager, if you have a job that is related to stormwater, I trust Chris to take the lead, and Chris Pfeiffer, and, we get it done. So I really trust our team, and I think that would be beneficial for you guys.
Anything else? Want to add? Okay. Ms. Fletcher, you want to ask the question, next one?
What resources will you employ to provide speedy and quality information to the town when timing is crucial? Describe your firm's internal process for handling requested services. And who would be providing the flow of requested information? A project manager, or will it be from a team collaboration?
Well, as far as the mode of communication, I think that should be determined on what works best. With some folks, it's phone calls, verbal communication followed up by, memo memos. If virtual meetings, Teams, works well, that's an option, or the in-person. I mean, that's one thing that's nice with us being just 25 minutes away. We're able to drive here and be economical and meet face to face and, see things firsthand. With regard to, I guess, the individual's going to be responsible. It's going to be, whoever is, working closely with the town on that project. And so, even though we're all, owners in the firm, I mean, I'm project engineering. That's what I do. I mean, a lot of folks would think that somebody that's been with the firm that long, and they're like stuff beneath me. Nothing is beneath me. I do everything. If I have to run prints, I will run prints. I mean, we do it all. We really do. I don't know that I've really answered all the points.
Yeah, so typically, like, I guess you asked our process internally. So you'll definitely, you know, it goes to the client manager or your main contact. And then from there, we will assign it to a project manager that's done similar work. You know what I mean? And then they have a team of younger engineers to get the work done. But I mean, we've also found that, a lot of times, like some of our clients want weekly meetings. You know, so virtually we'll have a weekly meeting, same time with the same client, and you just hit all of your projects, you know, and then that gives the manager, the client manager, the capability to go follow up with the individuals that might have been assigned to your job. So your client manager won't handle every project probably, but they can at least, you know, facilitate where it needs to be done and who's getting it done. And that seems to help a lot.
Can I add to that? I think part of the impetus for this question is the timing aspect of things. For a little town, Snow Hill has an incredibly high number of projects and activities underway. Everything from the copper fiber thing, the cross connection thing, we've got to get into the sewer plant. You probably understood that we've had some issues with Department of the Environment and plant performance and such. We've got engineering of the Bank Street Promenade project that involves stormwater management and street designs and that sort of thing. Our concern is having so many balls in the air. How do you keep them prioritized and focused so that everything is handled and addressed and resolved quickly and in a timely manner so that things don't get lost in the cracks, so to speak? How do you keep all the plates?
Good question. It's a lot to keep track of for sure with all the different towns and different things that are going on. Trying to think of a good way to respond to that. It really comes back to the project manager and the project director. You have to make sure that all those things are, you know, being met, being kept up with. You know, it's key to have, you know, an individual that has a good handle on all those projects and, you know, what needs to get done and how they need to get done. That's really key.
I think just communication externally and internally is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like communication with the town so that we know what your priority is and what your priority is today might not be what your priority is next week. And then communication internally on our side of things to make sure that if your priority does change, that the entire team is aware that this needs to be the new priority moving forward, or this, you know, we're switching to this being the.
Can you expand some on your group's use of the?
Yeah, so
what
my-
they do is really.
Yeah, so my group, I have, about 20 people that are in the design that work underneath, me and my group, for design. So we meet on a weekly basis on Mondays. And we have a task list for the week that we go through. We use Microsoft Planners, part of like the Microsoft Office suite of things, but we use that. So we create tasks. In our group, we assign it to a specific person with the due date. We go through that in the beginning of the week. We kind of have a list that everyone gets to check off things. It's nice because when checking off, it's kind of an incentive for people too. So it really gets the.
Yeah.
Gets
I like to
the,
check things.
yeah, exactly. But we use that kind of as our tool, our guideline for the week of who's gonna work on what. And there's been times where if we don't have the capacity in my specific groups, of the Site Sustainable group, I've gone to other groups. I've gone to Chris and seen if he had someone who's available that can help with a specific task that we need to get done this week. So we have collaboration within our own groups, but then firm-wide, and then we can also do the same with you all to make sure that we're prioritizing what you need us to prioritize.
It's impressive as far as ensuring that the tasks are getting accomplished.
And getting done.
I need to see, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
As
we want.
far as the submittals, like, hey, this week, this submittal has to go in, who's on this, how's this get done? I mean, personally, we don't use that software at this point, but it's something that I see the value in. It's maybe that's something where it would be, you know, beneficial here to the town of Snow Hill. That's really neat.
Use that, Margaret, in school?
Yeah.
No? Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
Okay, my question is, if a change in engineering firms is decided, what issues do you foresee in transitioning from one company to the next? What is the status of records, files, etc., accumulated as a result of projects undertaken on behalf of Snow Hill? Could such a change be conducted seamlessly?
I mean, I think so. I mean, both DVF and GMB, we play well together. We were, of course, in different towns and opportunities we've taken over. I think that the biggest challenge would be just some of the institutional knowledge that a consultant would have. It's going to be difficult to, convey that to the new firm. I mean, that's, I'm just trying to think of, different towns that I've worked with over the years. If somebody were to come in and work on that, I could provide them every last bit of information I have, but there's still all this stuff that you have up there that's, it's not written down on paper that's, difficult. That would probably be the most difficult thing to overcome, just that institutional knowledge. But that said, we've dealt with this, several times. I mean, the Lowell, client is one that I mentioned earlier, and I know prior to GB becoming involved, Cave, who has since, they're not no longer around, but Cave was a consultant, and they had been there for, decades, working for Lowell. I'm sure I was, much younger then, so I'm sure there were some things that were bumpy that I just wasn't privy to, but, best I could tell, would hit the ground running, a couple of projects.
Julie?
If the decision, Mayor, let me read this first, and then I'll ask you a question after they finish. If the decision is to employ both firms, dividing the work based on specific projects, how do you see that being organized and conducted? Any concerns with such a practice?
We don't have any concerns. We actually wondered if that was something that the town would consider doing, because we see that done quite
Do
regularly.
you see it?
Oh, yeah, quite regularly.
Yeah, a lot.
Particularly with a lot of the larger clients. Howard County, folks like that, where it doesn't really make sense to just have one firm doing everything. Because, recognizing that certain firms have certain areas of expertise, so, or just the availability to complete work. We've seen that. So
Yeah.
I don't envision it being any kind of a challenge if that's what the town felt was in its best interest, we would be open to that.
Yes.
So
So you see it in larger counties, is that what you're saying, or have you seen it on a smaller scale?
I mean, the town of Denton recently did that.
Okay.
And it was more, they awarded GMB a certain portion of where our expertise was, and they awarded another firm, a portion of where their expertise was. So it was more, I think the goal there was to keep the same institutional knowledge with the same firm, maybe, do you know what I mean? So they were always doing the water, wastewater projects, while the other firm was always doing, the stormwater and the land planning projects. So that is, we have seen that.
Yes.
But also we've seen, Wycomico County does that with you guys and Worcester County, where just depending on the number of projects that come in, they award, half to GMB, half to Parker Associates, half to DBF. So it just depends on workload, that balance also. So whatever works the best for you. But I do see a benefit in, definitely if you have a wastewater upgrade project, that one firm doing that whole project, just to keep it, together.
continuity.
Continuity.
Project, yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as what I'll call the general civil municipal type engineering, whether it's site plan reviews or, hey, we need to work on some street projects, those are finite type efforts that could easily be divvied out a couple firms.
That's interesting. Okay. Did you have something else?
Yes, I got caught a little off guard here when I heard portion of what our town manager said. I had two concerns, and I sent one to him, and one concern was minority participation, what you have done, how do you deal with what's required, and then what do you do in terms of not being required, minority or MBE stuff. But the question that I have, and I prepared this, you must understand our process. as legislators, we're not permitted to talk to each other than, so I'm gonna hand this to them because I'm not going to go into it with you because would you pass that to, because that's in your, no, that's yours.
This,
Yeah. And well, I'm not giving this to the mayor and to, I don't think it's appropriate for me to go into this. I do want them to know what my concerns are. I will come back to the mayor and council and my colleagues at the appropriate time, to look at it. It's nothing straight up, so that you'll know. My concern is, one of the questions that I had is, says the primary interview question for candidates is firm, experience and capacity. Both firms' credentials are solid. And I heard him say the exact same thing when he started. But I have a question that we need to discuss, I believe, that's in terms of the administration, they do a great job. And by what is taking place, they're on top of the program. There's no question about it. The question is that I have is, what is the legislative responsibility in this? And I think we've got to address that as council, not with you as what I'm seeing now, because I did hear you say we would.
About the decision,
Yeah, the decision, who makes it.
yeah, the charter is very clear about that.
Yeah, and, you know, my first year doing this, so that caught me completely off guard. Okay, but if that's the case, then I still want to come back as a legislator to understand what is my responsibility to this relationship where the town is spending money. So what's the relationship? I appreciate the concern that you have when you and staff met, that, hey, these guys are so close. I want somebody else to get to look at this, but I don't want to pull that trigger on my own, okay? But what I want to know is, what is our responsibility as legislators to this process? Because the process is where it is now. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. But again, I want to know, what are we responsible for as legislators? And no one, and that hasn't come up today, so I think that's something we have to come back to you. Maybe I have to come back to you. I'll get a handle on it and bring it back to my colleagues.
Well, I can just offer this much. As you know, there are multiple times when projects that we're involved with will need to come before the council and the mayor as far as how things are funded, what applications we commit to for grants or loans, that type of thing. A lot of the funding decisions that accompany a particular project are certainly before the legislative branch for adoption. We've had to adopt ordinances. We just did the ordinances for the Purnell Street closing that involved a state loan and loan forgiveness program. That was clearly a legislative function to adopt these ordinances. And so I would suggest, without any more preparation, that there will be opportunities during different activities for the legislative branch to have a role to play. But the charter, as I said earlier, the charter is very clear about the selection of the professional services and signing contracts. So I just tossed that out there just to kind of make it clear as to where this goes. But we certainly wanted your input and your sense of comfort with the two competing firms to see, anything you'd like to offer by way of consideration.
I can address the minority disadvantaged business. So this is something we've always been doing in our careers. Not only because the state requires it, but because, we want to be open and work with firms and with great relationships. So some of the firms directly listed in our proposal are maybe firms. We worked with them on multiple cases, geotechs, wetland delineation scientists. So anything we don't do in-house, we'll try and get multiple pricing from our subcontractors. I will say on the Eastern Shore, so our process, what we're required to do at a state is go onto MDOT, find these firms that are qualified and solicit proposals from them. Unfortunately, a lot of them are across the bridge and they don't competitively compare with the local folks. They got to travel, they've got the time of traveling here, the time of, that's really where they get kicked out. So the state doesn't require us to select them. And we have found their pricing's a lot higher. But we do, I mean, we are 100% open to working with whoever's, we need to work with, and we always usually do satisfy those state requirements. I think we sent a follow-up letter. So we did advertise for this RFP, under the basis that it's not a cost basis at this point. You know what I mean? It's just qualifications based. And there is an electrical engineering firm that responded that I have worked with them also in the past. But again, unfortunately, they usually come in a little bit higher when it comes to when it comes down to the costs. So we'll say that on the minority business side of it. And then the only other thing, not sure if this answers the question or not, like, we do attend regularly council meetings, and report on where projects are and what the status is. And I would think that legislative involvement helps just being in the community, knowing where projects stand, you know what I mean? And if you need any feedback from us, we can do that. So when people ask you, hey, what's going on here? Which I know your town manager can handle all that also, but it's just good to
We
know.
wrote this, huh? We collaborated on this, huh? Yeah, so it was a collaboration, mental telepathy.
Yeah.
Okay, now what you call?
Can you think of anything else on that?
Anything else?
Covered it, no,
Yeah.
Anything else, council?
It'll take the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I want to thank you all for coming,
Thank you.
giving us excellent feedback and presentation, and we thank you.
again so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Bye. Got everything? Okay, good. Take your water and stuff. Yeah. Thanks.
I saw somebody go that was.
Sam?
I don't know if it was them or not.
Okay. Just plop that right in there.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
I wanted to stay for the whole thing, but my kids are on the plane, so I gotta take off. Van and
Yeah, you told me to go.
Tonight,
I didn't know.
We've got one
And of course, what time is it?
We're not there.
7.
No, I just didn't know why we're on this late.
But you guys.
I got a full plate.
Here.
oh,
Yeah. Got it?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we look at it.
Josh actually has the quite a difference in the vote count there, but,
Right.
the thing that, that, I have 85 people, I have 500 eligible.
Yeah, it's like 9% of the population.
Ah.
Not even 6. That's okay. It was an awful election. It wasn't a main world one. That's the one that really turned up.
That's not.
So I know that you guys like these.
Did you need a screen share or anything?
I know the name.
In the Bible.
What's that?
In the Bible.
We can try, last time. We tried. So about that?
Oh.
Okay.
How about you ask me?
Yeah.
And it's got the PowerPoint presentation, GPS on
Being
it.
recorded.
Sure can.
I think they.
They're still saying that.
They're still, yeah, still.
It was.
And then we
That
get
we required to also
that up
do
there.
the meetings.
The what? Sorry? Yes.
Accessory pieces.
No.
Because I think.
No, right? No.
That gives people an opportunity to actually discuss with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
With, but see, it's not with a elected person, it's only with me,
Hmm?
so it's.
Did we stop sharing?
No, well, sure.
No,
We can stop.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thanks for coming. I wish you could too.
5:30.
And teaching from the hotel room.
It's a lot. Through the day.
Yeah.
And my Italy trip, that all got.
Did it get canceled?
The department decided it would be better for them to send on their contract out for 3 weeks and stuff. Fly all 36 students back to Maryland, take the full month of stuff.
Oh, it is.
Like,
Wow.
did anybody actually look at the cost difference? So no escalation meeting.
All right, enjoy.
Yep.
Yeah, come on up. I know.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Come on up, front, have a seat.
Jason's here with me. He's fixing our presentation.
Okay, good.
Congrats.
Well, before you all come back.
It's Monday.
Aw. Is it still there?
Are we talking on the phone or you can hear it out? Let's talk down to. Oh, you're coming down? Okay. With,
We'll go to executive. Go to bed. Yes.
Yeah, my dad's saying.
It's like 30 feet.
See, coming. They will take it, that's it. So it's like, from one. I don't know, that's what I'm really trying to tell you. Okay. You know,
You hear much?
well, actually, we as the town, so we don't, what is the new? Not me over here, you over there. So I don't know what to say. I don't do that. What's the?
You know, the kind of laws that.
Could be, I don't know, I absolutely love it.
You're just one of the, so you're on track of all services, so that it's very on the opportunity, so. And it never will have to.
I think that's. That would be a big sale. Basketball. Yeah. That's been, you know, no, it's more than that.
How about yours?
I just want to say, around the population.
Yes, we all, right? Crazy, it's a fast paced time.
My invitation.
Always.
You guys have.
We have one meeting, but then we have 2 work sessions a month. So we're here 3, but then council, which has gotten through 8 meetings of budget. So that's, and we need quite a bit, but, you know, we have closed sessions that can be called, we have other work sessions. that can be called. But usually about 3 times a month.
She also has nice one.
Yes, it's nice. Have you
Contact you.
Good to go.
All right.
It's Sharon right now.
Yeah. The county commissioners.
You're good to go. All right.
You don't see him do a lot of.
Mouse.
Okay.
Well, you have to slide it with your mouse. Is it?
Yeah, just kind of.
Mr. Lee? All right. We are here to, interview and hear a presentation from Davis Bowen and, Friedel and the engineering, firm that we've been dealing with for quite some time, many years, back to what, 1988? We heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Based on the files that we found.
Yes, okay, so you can go ahead and introduce yourselves, to our council. Have you met everyone in
No,
our
ma'am. I
council?
don't believe so.
Okay.
We met at one meeting. Yeah. Yeah, I know
Yes.
Councilman Lee. I don't think we've had the pleasure.
No, this is Councilperson Fletcher. And,
To meet you.
and yes, okay, and you've met these.
Yeah, we have one of our-
Okay, okay. All right, so you can go ahead and begin.
All right, we'll get started. First and foremost, thank you very much for having us. My name is Jason Lord. I am a principal senior engineer at Davis Bowen and Friedel. Been there for a little over 20 years now. I've got with me here a gentleman by the name of Nick Bradley, another engineer as DBF, been there for a little over 4 years. Nick has intimately been working with Snow Hill ever since he started here as an intern. Myself, I have not had the pleasure of being intimately with the town, but I've always been working on kind of the outskirts. Since about, mid 2012 or so, when I was helping some of the other engineers. Because with DBF at Snow Hill, it's always been a different project manager other than myself, but I've always helped on the kind of the outskirts. Unfortunately, with the departure of Mr. Taylor, on to bigger and better things, I'm stepping in to make sure that you will get the attention that you need as one of the owners of the company, where if need be, I can pull some strings to get some stuff done. I'll just be honest, that's what I want to make sure to keep you guys happy. So DBF has been around since 1983. Used to be known as the Back Alley Engineers, down in Salisbury with, 3 gentlemen, Jerry Friedel, John Davis, and, Don Bowen. And then his son, worked for us as well, but they were called the Back Alley Engineers. So I always got a kick out of it. Before they became DBF officially.
Okay,
But we've been around since 83, got a little over 5,000 clients, and that's total clients, it's not current clients. We just, signed, I think, our 5,021st client. I know that by client numbers, so, if we had that many clients, we'd all be in trouble. We do have a little over 120 employees between our 3 offices, which is Salisbury, Easton, and Milford, Delaware. Nick and I both work out of the Salisbury office. I have worked in all 3 offices personally, but live in Hebron, so I'm happy to be back at the Salisbury office. We understand that we're here to, interview and help the town of Snow Hill as your on-call engineer. Sorry, I turned my head. So the division of which Nick and I are both working, we call it municipal public works. That is our primary focus, is working with towns, municipalities, counties, little towns, some sort of government agency. We don't work on the private side, as I call it, with developments and that sort. We have a different division within DBF that does do that, but we personally do not, because I much rather work with the municipality. I have my entire career, just because I like the clientele better than the private side. It's just easier to work with the municipal because you live there and you want to work with them. But we're here to, take care of you. We're here to be your on-call engineer, help you ensure your stability and quality assurance. We want to have good communication, and more or less, we're here to provide the quality of services that you need. We're not going to force services upon you that you don't need. If you need help, we're here to help you. We're here to help you be proactive and certain regulations that may be coming down the line, like the PFAS stuff that's been coming down the line. We want to help you be proactive, keep ahead of everything, and basically help you what you need. If you don't need us, we're not gonna help you. Because you have great department heads between Rick, Randy, Bobby, everybody over there, they can take care of things, but sometimes they need help, we're here to help. So we're not here to force anything down your throat. I guess kind of what I'm at. We do have some clients that we do work a lot with and some that we don't, and we're here to help with what you need. We do instate what we call our checks and balances in, at DBF, and really that's just QA/QC. What we found is trying to get somebody else within the company, another engineer, quite often our water wastewater operator sometimes, to look at the plans that we've designed, look at the reports that we've written. Get somebody that's not involved with the project to take a cruise over what we did and make sure it makes sense. Make sure we're not out of our mind, make sure we're not missing something. So we kind of call that QA/QC, quality assurance, quality control, checks and balances. And typically, the way we work right now is the Salisbury office has its municipal public works division, so does our Milford office, and they handle mainly Delaware clients. So we kind of piggyback each other, helping each other out, to making sure that we're staying in line, keeping each other in check. The team we put together, as I stated earlier, is myself and Nick as your two primary contacts, just because, as again, Nick's been intimately involved with the town for the last 4.5 years. Myself, knowing what's going on and helping out with a few projects here, but again, on that ancillary. But we also have multiple other people. Rob Duma, who's a registered engineer with our office, has done some work, back in the day when he was a rising engineer. He currently runs our Eastern office right now. He's a big help. He'll help us out when need be. Sharon Cruz, she is a certified planner, that we have on staff that, I know there's been discussion on updating your comp plan. She's a certified planner that could help with that. We also have contract, and construction inspectors. Josh Molinax is our head one there. We have a full survey. We have structural engineers. We have architects. We have environmental. We have marine. So we know how water is important down here in Snow Hill. So marine engineering, waterfront, environmental stuff. We have all that on staff. We do everything. We do a lot in-house. However, there is some stuff we don't do in-house. Geotech and MEP, mechanical, electrical, program, plumbing, SCADA, and system integration. We don't do that. So we do have to sub that out. And what we've chosen is, right now, Hillis Carnes and Keystone Engineering. Two outfits we've worked with for many years, very reputable in the area. They know what they're doing. So as a project comes forward, if we're lucky enough to be chosen to continue as your on-call engineer, these are the guys that will help us out on certain projects. Sometimes we need them, sometimes we won't. It's all based on the project. I will throw the caveat out there. If it is a state or federal funded project that is paying for your engineering services, they do have their red tape you have to follow. And that's basically disadvantaged business companies, giving them the opportunity to do these services. So if you have a project that we're working on that is being MDE funded, federally funded, EPA, whomever, and they have those requirements, we are willing to, and we will go out for the proper solicitation for those subcontractors, sub-consultants. We've had that discussion with both Hillis Carnes and Keystone, and they understand that. But they're still willing to help out on the on-call basis when it's needed. But, we're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize your funding if you're getting some money for a project. So on-call experience, what we're here for is the primary focus of DBF, and that's been the backbone of DBF from 1983 on. Municipalities is what we take care of. We live on the shore. We want to take care of our clients. We provide, again, any type of service in regards to this on-call as you need it, as a project comes up, as you come across an issue. You give us a call, we'll give you our 2 cents. If we don't have 2 cents, we'll find 2 cents to give you. And we will help out, find out in order to solve the problem you have. We've taken care of over 40 municipalities each year on average. You see a list of several of the municipalities we've dealt with, and that's just in Maryland. We deal with several up in Delaware as well. So, working with municipalities on a regular basis, one of our clients may have an issue, another one may not, but we're aware of it. It may be something that's coming down the road for you to be proactive about. So we try to make sure we help each municipality out while we're also helping other municipalities out, because you're all municipalities, you're all going to run the same government red tape. Again, the on-call service that we provide on the municipal side is a laundry list of stuff. Planning, funding assistance, infrastructure, permitting, water, wastewater, again, I said marine coastal, structural, comp plan, goes on and on. That's just the laundry list of stuff we do. I know in the written proposal we gave you, there's probably even a longer laundry list. Again, you may not need all those services, but we can provide those services if you so do need them. Again, one thing that we do provide that not most engineering firms provide is planning services, specifically comprehensive plans. There I've got listed some of the comprehensive plans we worked on the last decade, one of which was Snow Hill. The gentleman that actually did the Snow Hill comp plan he's on his own now as a, sole proprietor planner, but we are working with him on with another client right now upgrading their comp plan. So we have done comp plans. We can do comp plans. Again, we have our certified planner on staff. Also, one thing that we do a lot of planning for is Parks and Recreation. Being the area that Snow Hill is in, being the county seat, we have worked with multiple counties and towns in regards to these waterfront properties, these waterfront, destinations that towns want to be able to use, want to be able to have. It's usually a park of some sort on the river, boat ramp, quite possibly a dock. It just depends on what the town needs or looks for, but it's something that we do specialize in regards to, planning services. Another item that we, let's say we take pride in, that not a lot of other engineering services, other engineering companies do, is funding. We help our clients find money. Can't always guarantee we get the money because especially with budgets being tight right now, but we understand that your budget can't take care of everything. I mean, you can't raise taxes all the time to pay for everything. So you're gonna need some assistance, either federal or state, and we are very well versed in doing that. I understand you have a wonderful grants administrator on staff that we've worked with before, and you take care of everything. But if there's something he needs help with, or there's a particular type of project that, you need funding for that we can assist, or he can assist, we're there to help out with. We understand that sometimes finding the money is the only way you're gonna get a project done. If you can't find the money, it's not gonna get done. And we're there to help you do that, help you find that money. Some of the ones we do, we deal with a lot are USDA, they are a wonderful funding outfit. They have the red tape you gotta work through, but once you work through the red tape, they're a great funding outfit to work with. MDE, of course, but there's also DNR, CDBG, Rural Maryland Council, some other ones out there that, can help, and they may not be able to fund an entire project, but you get enough of them together, you can get a project funded. So just to illustrate some of the recent funding experience that we've had within the last handful of years, there's just a laundry list of some of our clients that we have found, money for in regards to loans. They call principal forgiveness, which is by definition a loan, but it's something you don't pay back. So, most of these are MDE, but some are CDBG. We've been working with Chrisfield and some brick funding that they were awarded, possibly taken away, but we're not really sure yet. So we have a lot of experience with that. And I know Nick has been intimately involved with some recent funding applications. Nick, once the last several years, what you've done in regards to funding.
Yeah, DVF as a whole in the last 5 years to a decade has assisted the town with getting about $700,000 in loans, $600,000 in loans with principal forgiveness, and close to $1 million in grants in the past decade, and that's assisting the town to get those funds.
So, and that's, like I said, that's the first start, is finding the funds to get a project done and working your way through all the red tape, which we're experienced with. Happy to continue to help with. So that's kind of the spiel of a lot of the stuff we can provide the town. Within that on-call engineering, mostly it, really falls into 3 primary fields of work. It's wastewater, water, and stormwater. Now, there are other items, roads, sidewalks, whatever, but this is kind of the meat of a town. You gotta provide wastewater because, townspeople want to flush the toilets. Can't flush the toilets, you can't turn your spigot on, so you gotta provide water. And then you wanna, we're on the eastern shore, so it's a little flat and we have some flooding issues sometimes. So those are the main, items that we like to work on and we would help with if so needed. And a few of those projects just to highlight would be the Delmar wastewater treatment plant. We upgraded the Delmar wastewater treatment plant several years ago to a BNR and ENR, which is the most advanced wastewater treatment process you can. Successfully did that, helped them get sufficient grant funding and loan funding. There was a minimal loan that they needed required. But also on staff, if you happen to notice, we do have a water wastewater operator on staff. Most engineering firms will state that they could consult. Yes, we can consult when it comes to operations, but we actually have a licensed operator on staff that has operated, and Delmar is one of the wastewater plants. He actually operated under his license when it first started up to show and to prove that it could work and what we designed did work. Another project that you guys are familiar with would be your own wastewater treatment plant that we designed several years ago at ENR wastewater treatment plant. A gentleman by the name of Bill Remington was our project manager at the time, handling Snow Hill. But his wastewater treatment experience was limited, and this was one of the projects that I personally helped with definitely to get taken care of, get done for the town. And it was done to the point that we understood we did have extra capacity from the state in regards to adding to your capacity and still meeting those ENR limits. And because ENR is quote unquote the best technology available, you can't treat better than ENR. And your nutrient loads that go to the Chesapeake Bay ultimately are based on a larger number that we are currently permitted for. So you're in a unique situation that you do have some capacity to upgrade. Granted, it's more treatment, it's still may costly, but you do have the capacity to upgrade some in order to continue with your stream discharge and not have to go to some sort of an alternate treatment or alternate disposal, such as spray irrigation. So we designed that into the plant, and we feel confident that it will work, and we can hopefully help you do that. And not just wastewater treatment, but also wastewater conveyance. Up in Hurlock, the Jackman Street pump station was a project we recently completed for the town. It is their main pump station that pumps everything to the wastewater treatment plant. It, along with its force main to the plant, were in awful shape. And we were able to get them some funding to basically redo that complete pump station. And recently got completed, and as far as I know, everything's going well. Haven't heard any issues, so no news is good news. The one that Nick recently worked on, or finishing up, is the Berlin Broad Street pump station. This is a 100-year-old plus pump station that the town of Berlin had that was completely demolished. And we installed an at-grade Smith & Loveless suction lift pump station, which the town likes and trying to standardize on. It's a little more operator friendly, a little bit easier to get with. But again, it was a very unique project. Again, had to work with an existing pump station and work around existing pump stations, because it's easy to design these kind of things, but you got to think of the constructability of it. The wastewater has to keep flowing while you're constructing it. And that is where having an operator on staff really comes into play, because they can look at it from an operator's viewpoint and say, okay, yeah, that engineer thought about this. This is great, but you know, it's not going to work operationally. That's where you need to do X, Y, or Z instead of A, B, and C. Last but not least, in regards to the sanitary sewer or I&I projects, gravity sewer collection. Delmar, and particularly, we've did some previous I&I studies for them and have actually completed Delmar I&I sewer improvements phase 1, being wrapped up right now. We're under design for phase 3. Hopefully going out to bid fairly soon. Both of them were fully funded by the state of Maryland. And we skipped phase 2 only because it's
Phase 3 is the Delaware side.
Delaware side.
That's why it was phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 are on the Maryland side. That's a different funding pool. So paperwork in Delmar is kind of tight. So you got to do the Maryland side and the Delaware side. So understanding both sides of that coin.
Okay.
With the wastewater plant, Delaware was nice enough to help with the wastewater plant, but Maryland doesn't seem to want to help get the water side.
Yeah.
They don't play fair. But this is one that Nick is intimately involved with, so, he knows the details on it. But again, it's some collection, some I that the town had, and once phase one has been completed, I believe we decreased their, flow into the wastewater plant by about 20% right now. So it had a very measurable difference of actually getting the project completed. And then there's water, that is said, people like to turn their spigots on. Water is something else that we're very proud of and try to help out with. A recent project, we've in the process of completing the four-phase project in Pittsfield, included valve replacement, filter replacement, clarifier replacement or rehabilitation, and elevated storage tank work. And it's 4 phases because the town just couldn't afford to do it at one lump sum, and MDE wouldn't fund it at one lump sum. So we're kind of piecemealing it together. We're trying to get ready to wrap up that final phase right now. But this is another one where our water and wastewater operator was heavily involved and was actually out there and helped operate the facility after phase one, while the town was in the process of getting a licensed operator. They were in a position they just didn't have one. So it was a good, interesting project. Still a success, still ongoing. And then there's the city of Chrisfield. Actually my very first client ever at DBF, and I'm still with them. We've done multiple water projects down there, including the wet production wells, elevated storage tank, isolation valve installation. Being Chrisfield, they were a fairly old system that we're still finding pipes in the ground that were supposed to be abandoned. Our previous project, and they're still in operation, still in operation. So it's been a hit and miss down there sometimes, but again, our water wastewater operator, he didn't do all these at once, by the way. He's one man, he can only do so much. But he actually operated both the water and wastewater system down there for a couple of years, in between some operators within the city. And to this day, right now, we are still technically licensed operator down there working with them, but it's more of a consulting basis. They do have a licensed operator now who actually fills out the paperwork, but we're still working with them on a consulting basis. Very heavily consulting. There's also Blades, Delaware, small town just south of Seaford. It was one of the first towns to experience the PFAS phenomenon, where they actually were doing random testing. EPA was, and found PFAS in their system. It was well above what they call a health hazard, but it wasn't at the time a requirement, but it was high enough that everybody was concerned, and we helped coordinate between them and the state of Delaware, bringing in bottled water, putting in, as you see here, a temporary carbon system in order to get them back up and running within about a month or so. And then with the friendliness of USDA and their not ECWAG, they have a emergency grant. I can't for the life of me remember it right now, but for water, because it was a very big health issue, they were able to step up and provide grant funding for us to upgrade their existing water treatment facility to add 2 carbon filters and a lab, to be able to help get Blades back online to be able to provide potable water. And they're one of the first. Newark, Delaware was the first, and Blades was the second treatment facility in the state of Delaware to treat PFAS. And PFAS is a very hot topic right now. Everybody's trying to figure out how to take care of it. That was a good topic. In Dorchester County, there's a small water system by the name of Bonnybrook that the Dorchester County Sanitary District took care of, and we were able to get in there and help them by putting in water meters throughout the system to help monitor it, as well as a treatment system and hydropneumatic tanks for pressure, because Bonnybrook is kind of in the outskirts of Dorchester County, not close to city of Cambridge or actual connection. So it's an interesting project, small project, had a lot of funding issues that we had to work through with USDA and the state, but we actually got it completed, and it's up and running with no issues right now. And last but not least would be the Georgetown, King Street Water Treatment Facility. As an existing water treatment facility up in Georgetown, Delaware, that we helped rehabilitate the existing facility as well as add these stainless steel air stripper towers. Help with removal of VOCs. There's some contaminants, there's PTFE contaminants within their groundwater that the state or EPA had lessened the MCL and the current facility could handle it. So we got 100% grant to add a new treatment to handle it. So it's another good interesting project. And then the hot topic within the Eastern Shore, stormwater. Stormwater, I don't know if you all recognize that photo. But that came from a study we did, Bird Park.
Yes.
Which is the very first project I'm highlighting. Bird Park, we actually assisted the town several years ago with the installation of submerged gravel wetland down there, one of the first in the state for our stormwater treatment, quality as well as quantity. And then also we recently completed the flooding evaluation of Bird Creek, Bird Park, which I understand the town is working on trying to implement based on funding and how we can help out with that. But that was an interesting evaluation that we did for the town. Another one, which is very interesting, was the town of Pittsfield, town-wide drainage study that was completed. I did not realize Pittsfield had as many issues as they did until I started looking at the photos. But town-wide, between Pittsfield and Wacomico County, we completed a study with several recommendations, which included several upsizing of culverts, and just trying to get the water to flow again. But so that was fun. Sharptown State Street is another drainage project we did in combination with the town of Sharptown and Wacomico County, where we evaluated a watershed in Sharptown and came up with several recommendations on some flooding issues that they had in order to address those. That was implemented and everything was going well. So I just want to, emphasize, highlight the relationship that, like we said at the beginning, that DBF has had with the town. I was able to document our initial involvement with the town of Snow Hill dating back in 1988, of which we have been, working with the town for over 35 years. I recall my involvement was around 2012 and 2010, and that's when, between 89 and 2010, I think would say we worked on project-specific stuff for the town. Helped out on any type of project that was very specific that the town requested. Around 2010 is when we were actually officially called the on-call engineer again. I believe there was a short period of time that we didn't do as much work with the town. Sometime in the 2000s. But I recall in 2010 is when we kind of started working again, more as the on-call engineer for the town. And projects we've done with the town, town standards, plan reviews, bulkheads, Federal Street Extension, Sturgis Park, Bird Park, Iron Car Pump Station, wastewater treatment plant, lead service line inventory recently. Wastewater treatment plant operations before Bobby came on, we were helping out with that as well. So we have a long history with the town of Snow Hill. And I think that is a successful, good relationship. Now, as far as I know, since my involvement, I do not know of any issues that we've had. Again, I've been working on the ancillary with other project managers being the face of DBF. But with the change we've had recently, I want to make sure that I get more involved and I can become the face of DBF so that this guy can be the face of DBF.
About a decade.
Yeah, no, more than, not that long. But, we have a long relationship. And even though this is business, I do take this kind of personal in regards to we live here, we live on the shore, we want to take care of our clients. We are the type of on-call engineer that you will have my cell phone number. You can call me 24/7. I have clients that do that. And I have no problem whatsoever taking care of things or making sure things get fixed. I can give you multiple examples being on vacation. And I end up calling this guy and he helps take care of it for me. But, it's something that we take it personally because we want to take care of our clients. And we want to have a personal relationship with you guys, not just a business relationship. And when I say personal, I always give the example when Sarah Bond, my team was a town manager in Delmar, ran into a Walmart at 10 o'clock at night one night. Sat there, talked for an hour, did not mention shop one time. We just talked about each other's families. You know, that's the kind of engineering firm we are. We are a family. We want to reach Snow Hill and be a family member of Snow Hill to take care of you. I say that because that's just me. It's my spiel of time. But now I've got to jump back. Current workload. I'm not gonna lie, we're busy. Everybody's busy. But I'm going to ensure and we're going to monitor everything. If we say we need to get something done for the town, we're going to get it taken care of. We've got people to do it. We will keep a close eye on our schedules and we will end up providing you with a cost-effective, timely product. I will say I cannot control MDE, and if they take 6 months to review something, we'll be hooting and hollering after 2 months. But we have had issues with them as well as USDA. They're overloaded as well. You know, but we're here to help, and we're going to push everything we can to give you something that you expect in a timely, cost-effective fashion. Last but not least, why DBF? Again, our experience, we're working with on-call engineering for multiple municipalities. Would not only help you as being your on-call engineer, but anything we do for another municipality could help you. We're just trying to be proactive as opposed to reactive. Between senior and junior qualified staff, and myself, Nick, and others we have on staff, we can take care of everything. We can do what we can do. Of course, there's some sub-consultants on D, and we'll bring him in if we have to. Yeah, we've been doing on-call contracts since our DBS came into light in 1983. So, you know, we have the experience. We know that we're here to help you with what you need. We're not here to force something down your throat. We're here to help you with what you need. When you need it, you give us a holler, and we will help you. With the past experience we've had with the town, we know your procedures. We know who to talk to. We know who to call if there's an issue. So we know what you all expect and what your goals are. And we're here to help you meet those goals. Hopefully we have a proven track record with the town and with other municipalities. Give them calls or references. Hopefully everybody will give us a glowing review. I'm not aware of any that won't. But we do have a proven track record. And, you know, we're in Salisbury. We're a 20-minute drive away. Be here faster. If we make a few phone calls, we don't get pulled over, but we will be here in a heartbeat for you. Again, we're here to help the town. The town, you're our client. We're here to help the town meet your goals, get you where you need to be. And we're open to any questions.
Okay, I guess I'll start out. You've already talked some about this, but why is your firm, we have one other firm that we're looking at also. Why are you the best fit for us in competition with another firm?
I think our track record and our knowledge and our experience with the town gives us a little bit of a step up. We've worked with you for a while. We know what you need, what your capability is, we'll say. I've worked with Rick before he was here at Snow Hill, so I do have a relationship with Rick. I know how Rick expects things, and expects them to get done and done in a timely fashion. And I think just our reputation as municipal engineers on the shore in general, I think carries its weight. Not to brag, but I think we do a good job, and I believe our clients like what we do, and we take care of them, and they understand if there are hurdles, we're here to help get through those hurdles. And I will say this, I do know who the other engineering firm is, and they're a great firm as well. So, nothing against them. I just think we're better.
I kind of wanted to hear that. Okay. Councilperson Fletcher.
What resources will you employ to provide speedy and quality information to the town when timing is crucial? Describe your firms. I'll let you answer that.
First and foremost is the open communication from the town. If you need something and you have a deadline, I need to know what that deadline is. So just saying that we need it soon, I'll be honest, it's not a deadline. Yes, if you need it soon, I'll start working on it for you. But if you have a deadline, we have to have this turned in by December 31st. we will get that for you. We know that deadline of whatever it is you're looking for, and then the best thing to do is work our way backwards. You know, if we know you have a deadline to get to certain products, you know, something done, we'll have to know exactly what do we need to do. We'll discuss internally, what do we need to do in order to get you that? Say it takes 3 weeks. All right, we got a due date. We're gonna back up 1 week to give us a little bit of a buffer. Then 3 weeks, we gotta get that stuff done in 3 weeks in order to get it to you on time. So the biggest thing is knowing the time, knowing what it is, and then us internally using our proper resources, whether it be, marine project, some geotechnical work, we go to one of our subs, or, you know, whatever it may be, using our resources internally, discussing internally, and putting that hard deadline on it so that we can make sure we get it to you when you need it.
You might have answered, but I'm gonna finish the rest of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Describe your firm's internal process for handling the requested services. Who would be providing the flow of requested information, a project manager, or will it be from a team collaboration?
Everything we do at DBF is a team collaboration, not a one person that knows it all. There's not a one person that can do it all. We are, you know, internally, we are a team. But as things progress for the town of Snow Hill, there are two direct contact, myself and Nick. And we keep each other in place, you know, in the loop on whatever we're each working on. If I'm working on one thing or he's working on something, we make sure we do it. So if you can't get a hold of me for one reason or not, you call Nick. You may want to call Nick first anyway. I'm perfectly fine with that. But he will take care of it. You can't get a hold of Nick, you call me, I will get the answer for you. So we use our resources internally to make sure we keep track of everything. We make sure the two of us are in the loop on anything and everything going on in town of Snow Hill. And again, I kind of go back to, unfortunately, me pulling the strings and saying, you know, I'm the boss, you guys are gonna get it done, let's get it done. You know, if we gotta pull some strings to work overtime, we'll pull some strings to work overtime if we have a deadline to meet for you.
Okay, if a change in engineering firms is decided, what issues do you foresee in transitioning from one company to the next? And what is the status of records, files accumulated as a result of projects undertaken on behalf of Snow Hill? Could such a change be conducted seamlessly?
Short answer is yes, it can be conducted. If there's a change in regime and we need to share our files, there are, you know, whatever we have, I will state it's kind of a gray area because we, as an engineering consultant, we provide a service, not a product. A lot of people don't understand that. We're designing a service for you. We don't provide we're not providing you with a TV. We're not building a product. However, under contract with you, we share the ownership of that final product service. So design plans, design reports, we are more than willing to provide PDFs of whatever we have on in our files. I would be very hesitant in providing what we call CAD drawings because they do have some proprietary information in them, the way we do things. But there's no reason we cannot provide a PDF of such file to the town. Same thing with reports. There are there's more than one way to skin a cat for some of this stuff. Engineers do it differently with a similar outcome. But again, we'd be happy to, I wouldn't say happy, we would provide you with PDFs, in order to keep, the town moving along. We would not punish the town.
If the decision to employ both firms, dividing the work based on specific projects, how do you see that being organized and conducted? Any concerns with such a practice?
In practice, no, because actually we do that with at least 3 of our other clients right now. For where we, for one client, we handle all the infrastructure, water, wastewater, land reviews. The other firm handles all the stormwater reviews, because stormwater is its own animal. So that's one client. Another client, we do the exact same thing, but it's swapped. We do the stormwater reviews, this other firm does all the infrastructure, infrastructure stuff. So it can be accomplished. The key is making sure that it is clearly divided on who is doing what. You would not want you would not want both of them doing infrastructure, in my opinion, because it can get a little fuzzy on who's doing the next project and how you go about doing that. But there will be no harm in having the other firm review the first firm's work product, just as a third-party reviewer, an internal reviewer, to ensure that, what the town is looking for, is what they're getting, I guess is the best way to phrase it. So making that fine line of who's doing what, and then, monthly meetings with everybody involved to make sure everybody's staying on track, staying within the same scope. But, generally, I don't see it as we do it right now for other clients. The whole thing is just making sure you got that division of scopes of work, who's doing what.
Okay. Mr. Lee, you want to bring up your other question?
Yes, I shared earlier, and I shared with you that, I was caught a little off the mark on what we were doing here. And I had shared a memorandum with the council persons here, which I'm not going to go into. Primarily because, Rick, brought us in line, what is the role of the legislature in the legislation council in this process?
Okay.
And that is my concern. But that is something that need not be discussed here. We have to, look in terms of what procedure is, what the law, what statute is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Raised one question, minority participation, and I basically understand what it is. I understand towns and don't understand why we don't have minorities in but I do want you to understand, know that, and I said this to the other firm, and I mean it sincerely. One of the questions that I did have was, preliminary interview questions for candidate firms. The first question was experience and capacity. And I said, both firms' credentials are solid. And I want you to know that I respect what you have done. I've been engaged with this town and this, going back to when you first became engaged back in 2010. I would say to you that a concern of mine, which is going to be, if you continue with us, the comprehensive plan.
Yes, sir.
And so, we are on the ball with it. Right on track. And there's another concern, we don't need to go into that, but there's a couple of concerns, but, nevertheless, I'm going to stop there because both firms' credentials, so.
Yes, they are. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming this evening and giving a great, excellent presentation and fielding all our questions for you. So, we're
Thank
happy
you.
to have you here and thank you for coming.
We appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with you.
It's been good.
Is this yours?
Yeah. Queen Anne's County.
Thanks.
So how I got it, but I got it somehow. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So, see you guys. See you. Melissa.
Okay, at this point, if there is some discussion from council, in order to give me feedback, you certainly may say it now. If you would like to, give me individually, you know, if you think about it, go home and think about it tonight, and you want to give me individual or Mr. Pollitt, any of your responses to your feelings about hiring these firms. Either one stands out more than the other, or if you consider using both of them. And if you have anything right now, I'm open to it.
I would like, we're just getting an overview. So to the court district, or something, for what's the legislative responsibility in a matter such as this? What I understand is advisable. That's what I'm understanding.
Correct.
That's what. But I want to go a little further than that. Maybe advisory to what degree? And I think what I've heard, and the reason I didn't catch all of the conversation, that phone, and I couldn't silence it, and when you were reading that, I couldn't hear. But just give me some response.
Well, I think, as I say, the charter is very clear on who makes the decision. My sense, and you know, anyone who's worked with me understands that I try to work through collaboration and a big picture approach, everybody at the table type of thing. I think, and the mayor agrees, that a decision such as this, where the confidence in our engineering firm needs to be shared. We had generally the same reaction among the staff that have worked closely with DB&F over the years as to their responses to proposals. And the idea is that we just, somebody said, you know, I think it was maybe Catherine who said, you know, the bigger the group, the better the product. The more input we can get. We were hoping that this exercise tonight would give you a chance to share your thoughts, your impressions. If you have thoughts, as the mayor just said, of this one firm stand out over another in any regard, it would be interesting to see if your responses and reactions are the same as our team's was. Well, I mean, we're all part of the same team, but if having heard their presentations, are you going to land in the same place we all did? And just that the value of your experience and your impressions gained from this exercise shared with us, I think would be valuable for the mayor to be when the selection is made. So that from officially, it's not so much there because the charter is very clear.
So when council, when your staff and you sat down together to look at this, there was no preference one way or the other. It was the closeness.
Well, there was 5 categories in the RFQ to be rated. And some of us just kind of did it subjectively. Others, for instance, Randy and Bobby, actually put numerical scores when they considered it. And, you know, they came out with a slight edge to one company over the other. And, you know, it was very well thought out. But I think we all ended up at the place where, as I think each acknowledged of the other, they're both top-notch firms. They both are capable of giving a quality service. And what value do we place on a 30-year relationship with one company and their hands-on day-to-day experience and connection to everything that we're doing now? What would be the ramifications of making a switch this late or this far along in the process? Something to consider.
If you looked at, and haven't thought about, if you looked at using both firms, how would you make that decision? Would you make it on projects in which you feel certainly who would be the lead on the project? How do you do that? And this is not legislation. This is just asking you a question about knowing your business.
Well, and that's why we included the question, because several people had suggested to me that was a growing trend, is not to put all your eggs in one basket and have a single relationship with any one company, that you, if your expertise is in wastewater and water, might go with one company in stormwater management or streets construction, that sort of thing, maybe another one would give you an edge. And so I'm open to that. I haven't had experience with that, but clearly the others have, and it seems to be a growing trend.
Yeah, that's.
So, but that, I think it would be job specific, or area specific at least, as far as water and sewer, maybe on one page and other infrastructure on another, something like that.
Well, mentioning those two characters that you just used, I would feel totally safe and satisfied with the decision that you came up with. And from a management point of view, strictly management, I would lean toward diversification. I would lean toward exactly what you just said. Who is the strongest person in this area? And match them together. And since they ostensibly have, cordial relationships, that may be a way to go. But again, I yield to the masters.
Well, they're all consummate professionals. Whatever decision we make, I'm sure we'll go through professionally and calmly, and we'll work out.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, how do they charge? They charge about the same as one company?
They're comparable. They have their billing rates.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat looking at the thing that DB&F provided this morning from 1988. It was like $35 an hour for a principal or something like that. It's not that anymore.
No.
But they based on position, they have an hourly rate broken down, and pretty much it's based on time spent. It's like the attorney could keep a log.
Yeah.
It's time spent.
I don't see it. Oh, they do in the back.
I don't have them side by side. It's not.
One morning, yeah. So,
Just one follow-up question, maybe Rich. Talk to me about contract. I think I raised that question too. I don't know about something. Are they contracted when you make the arrangements to contract with one firm, and is that a written contract and contractual agreement?
My expectation would be that depending on where we land, if we were going to select one company to do everything, basically you take the RFQ that we asked for, what they've provided, and you basically incorporate that in contract form so that they are expected and they're bound by the things we've asked them to do.
But we don't have one, have not had one over in the past year now.
The only thing we've been able to find is the letter from the town dated, 1987, where the town decided.
Just for my record, would you share that?
I did already, I sent that out.
I don't, okay, I've seen so much.
We emailed it today, yeah.
Thank you.
I think, did we?
If we did go with a two-company model, would one of them be the principal and one be the sub, or would it just,
They'd both be principals depending on the subject matter.
okay, so depending on the project, that's who it would take place.
For instance, if we decided we wanted to stay with Davis Bowen and Cordell for water and wastewater,
Since they developed.
they would be the engineer for that field of work. If we wanted to contract with Davis Bowen or responsible for stormwater management, flooding, drainage,
Mhm.
street infrastructure repairs and such. And if we went with GMB for that, then they would be the principal for that area of
Okay.
focus.
how would you make that decision?
Well, the mayor and I will certainly sit down now and talk about what we've seen, what we've heard, and what we think is the right way, whether we've got enough information to decide now, or whether we need to investigate a little further, maybe the options of a dual award might need a little more exploration to see just how it is constructed and put together. But that would be our conversation after this.
That would be the same way with each project too, right? I mean, come to each project.
I don't see us-
Dive,
I don't see us establishing a relationship with more than two companies.
right,
I think we would probably take our list of projects and divide them up between DB&F and GMB, depending on where we thought the strength was. And then divide them that way.
Anything else?
Yeah, just one final. You do send me a copy of that piece that you read earlier, which I didn't hear all of it, but I would like to have a copy of it. Is that okay?
Probably, that was just my talking point, so I didn't forget anything.
Oh,
I mean, it's not,
some information.
it's not an official town
Okay,
document.
okay, well, unofficial document, if you send it to me, I appreciate it.
Well, it's public record, I guess I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to give me any kind of decision
Well,
or you can give it to me separately?
I think
If
I'm
you wanna
gonna
send it to
email,
me?
cause I wanna read.
Okay,
Just I have something in my mind,
okay.
but I just wanna go back and look and hear more compared to what
Well,
they're actually.
Yeah, you may need the evening and so to think
Well-
about it and just give me your, because I'm gonna try to make a decision by the end of the week.
So can I give it to you Wednesday, because we'll be here tomorrow?
Yes,
My schedule is,
yes, yeah, so because we can go ahead and start
Yeah, so
talking about it and then as you want to give your opinions to me, that would be great.
Yeah, I would recommend to you and to Rick, consider the pairing, using both firms, where you can.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that it brings more leverage to the town. I think even believing, is, in proposal writing, that when you're going to lenders, that they see that lends to your capacity and strength for management and resource. I just think it's a strong message point,
okay,
you know.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. I also want to, talk to Bobby and Randy. Since you've heard their presentations, your opinions also would be very important to me to hear you. And Paul also, because you're here and you've heard them, so I would appreciate that. That would help everybody's input. I am more of a team person. I like to hear what he thinks before making any decisions. So,
Bobby and I will get together tomorrow
yeah,
and discuss all of it.
Okay.
It'd be better for us just when we get all our stuff together, just send it to Rick, or send it to you and Rick, or go meet with Rick, or you and Rick, or
yeah,
what?
I'd like to, you can send it, but I would like to talk to you.
Thank you.
I like to do the talking also.
He can send it and we'll come in and talk.
Yes, and talk. Is that good?
That's fine.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, comments from the public? We don't have any right now. Anything else that, council members, any other announcements? We're good? You good?
town hall tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Town hall meeting tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night? Is it tomorrow night already?
Yes, it's tomorrow night.
Let's do it tonight and say it and just be done.
Yes, yes, I
We
understand.
had a birthday party to get to.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And happy birthday.